Yadamba, yada, da 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 da. Hello. Just a little humdy-dumdy diddle, something I do randomly through pretty much every day of my life. Some people refer to it as singer's Tourette's, and if that's accurate, then I got it bad, and that's good. You are watching and listening to me, aka Claudia Schmidt, who am appearing here tonight on Woodstock Wednesdays, Thanksgiving Eve, and I'm so pleased to be here. The Woodstock Folk Festival has been going since 1986, and even during the pandemic. Some people thought it was canceled, but they did it virtually, and they're continuing the connection, making this effort to keep us connected by doing these little Wednesday evening concerts. And the last time I was actually at the festival was in 2011. I can hardly believe it was so long ago. So I get to talk about what I'm thankful for tonight, and I'm going to start off. Well, I've been writing all through the pandemic, but I haven't had a chance to get out and play a lot of my new songs, and this is one that it has a little bit to do with the pandemic in that I think I had COVID when I wrote it. It was before we knew about the pandemic, and I was very sick in late February, and I had literally a fever dream. First, let me say that, I mean, we're coming up to the end of this year, which is the 100th anniversary of women getting the vote, and it's so interesting that the vote passed in 1920, and it had been delayed because of the 1918 pandemic. It kind of got lost in the madness that was going on. So here we are in the 100th year when we all wanted nothing more than to come together and hoop it up that women fought for and got the vote in 1920, and everything got kind of lost in the chaos of the pandemic. It's just an interesting little scenario. And so nevertheless, those women, many of whom didn't even live to see the vote, even though they fought for it, and some lived to see the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965. And so we go on, and we're still struggling to not let those voting rights roll back. So back to my pandemic dream, I guess there must have been a train whistle in my dream, and I kind of had a visit from a ghost of one of the suffragists. Kind of came to me with this train whistle and this driving feel of helping us forward, and that's where this song came from. And I just want to say that on the night that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris delivered their speeches, their acceptance speeches, when Kamala Harris walked out onto that stage in that beautiful white suit, I thought of that woman who came to me in my dream and how pleased she would be to see that. This is called Women in White. Well, I heard a train in the night. I saw those dresses of white. I knew the time was right to claim what's mine. Too long in chains of fear, there's no more need, my dear. We are so very near to the finish line. We were beaten in the streets, we were thrown in jail, mocked and abused, but to no avail. Because the women in white kept marching for the right to vote. Yeah, the women in white kept standing for the right to vote. Woo, yeah, yeah. Well, we tried the middle way, talked to those men every day, but we were sent away with a shake of their heads. What else could we have done? This was for everyone, our daughters and our sons, and long after we're dead. We were beaten in the streets, we were thrown in jail, mocked and abused, but to no avail. Because the women in white kept marching for the right to vote. Sing it with me. Oh, the women in white kept standing for the right to vote. Women in white, women in white. 100 years ago we won that right. Women today, well, they still know ERA. Can't you find a way to be the new women in white? Yeah, yeah. Oh, that train is bound somewhere. Now it's you that must dare to journey all the way there with our precious games. Please don't give up the fight to save our hard-won rights, for there are those who'd put us right back in chains. Oh, we were beaten in the streets, we were thrown in jail, mocked and abused, but to no avail, because the women in white kept marching for the right to vote. Yeah, the women in white kept standing for the right to vote. Women in white, women in white. 100 years ago, we won that right. Women worldwide, I see a shifting tide. When you're standing side by side, the new women in white. Yeah, but I heard a train in the night. I saw those women in white. Whoa, women in white. Women in white. Yeah, women in white. Let's keep on struggling. It's not over yet, is it? Well, Carol Obertussing, who invited me to be a part of this program tonight, asked, she said I could say a few thoughts about how I feel about Thanksgiving. And for me, for a long time, it's really been more of a time of solitude and contemplation and meditation. So actually, the pandemic is a little bit of a blessing for me because I don't have to be turning down invitations and appear to be an antisocial, ungrateful person. And I was thinking just yesterday about, man, a year ago, people were dreading getting together for Thanksgiving because they thought all they were going to do was argue and scream at each other, and suddenly we can't live without it. It's just so interesting to me. And it's an odd time. I know a lot of my friends go to those stressed dinners, and they eat a lot of food, because when you have a mouthful of food, it's easier to not answer possibly aggravating and incriminating questions, because you can just kind of be like this and kind of move on with the conversation. So everybody has a different way of looking at it, but I'm just fine with the way things are. I'm grateful where I am, and I'm grateful for who I'm with, and I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I mean, there's so much. We could go on and on. But one thing that has been a tradition for me over the years, and for a particular group of years, about 6 years, I did a concert the night before Thanksgiving Eve, in Seattle. And it was this club that would be packed with people, and I would do this piece every year. And one year I thought, oh, they must be getting tired of this. I think I'm just going to leave this out of the program. And I walked off stage, and I got called back, and I did another song, and I went back to the dressing room, and suddenly I heard this chant building up, coming out of the room in a single voice: pie, 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 pie. And they wouldn't let me leave until I came out and did this piece, and I never doubted its efficacy again. And so I always think of it on Thanksgiving Eve, a poem written by my dear late friend Susan Bright. Ice water. 2 silver knives to cut through the flour and shortening. Add salt. It is an old art. Do not work late into the night with sleet nipping at your sleeves. You will fall off. Wake up at 3 a.m. to a room full of smoke, 2 black discs in the oven, bad smell. Do not think about business or the wave of darkness spreading through the arts. Do not think about depression looming on the horizon or the rhetoric and nonsense our leaders toss into its mouth or the prospect of revolution in America. Zen. Concentrate on the art of pie. It is a good art. Ingredients spread through the house like a layer of snow. Later, people say, oh, pie, pie. We love pie. It is a good art. Fill pie with ingredients at hand, fresh fruits, cans of things, cheese. Add it to a feast. Eat leftovers for breakfast the next day. The celebration begins again. Pie filling the recesses of the body. Exhilaration. Pie is an old art. If we lose it, infants will wither in their mother's stomachs, writhe at sunken nipples, men will lose direction, U.S. Steel will manufacture rubber, and the pillars of society will flop around like spangles on a half-mast flag. Pie. The planets are lined up. Saturn, Uranus, Mars, Jupiter, pulling earthquakes, pulling poison from beneath the surface. Pie. Cut through the mix gently, roll out on a layer of wood and flour. Pie, flute the edges, pour apples and cinnamon and spices. Pie, Zen, concentrate on the art of the pie. The rites of passage pull us through the gates of depression and war. We shall make pie, cannot resist. We shall celebrate Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. Holidays shall find us traversing the continent in search of heritage. No one makes pie like Mother does. Pie. No one says one pie should represent all pies. Pie is like a thumbprint. Some are sour. Pie is silent, making only a light simmering noise as it bakes in the oven. Its spread scent gently into our hearts. There is ceremony as pie is lifted out of the heat. They gather. Oh, pie. The clutter is swept away. Space around pie is brought to sharp focus. Light pours down on pie. Concentrate. The art of pie is an old one. Try to imagine life without it. Like the unveiling of a great painting, breaking a champagne bottle over the bow of a ship going off to sea, the ceremony as a cornerstone is laid. Pie. Do not roll the crust too thick. Roll gently or the center will unfurl. Rub extra flour on the rolling pin every fourth stroke. Remember these things. Create pie often so the art is not lost. Do not forget temperature. Cold is essential. Then heat. You must have an oven. Cannot make pie over an open fire or in a barbecue pit. Be firm with those who insist pie can be made on the back window ledge of a Pontiac left out in August sunlight. Respect the rules of pie. Yeah, Susan Bright, The Art of Pie. Well, Carol invited me to bring you up to date, you who are listening tonight, to Woodstock Wednesdays about what I'm up to in my own world. As I would have normally been doing my Wednesday night musicale tonight, which I do about every other week. And I have a couple of concerts coming up in early December. And the best way to find out the details of those, which are still coming in, is to go to my website, claudiaschmidt.com, where I have a calendar that has all that information on it, and where I have my CDs, all the music I've made over these many years, 46 years of performing. And it also has my virtual tip vessel lives there, which has been a lifeline for me for the last 8 months. And you're welcome to visit there any old time. It's there 24/7. And so all that lives at the website. And I'm going to wind up with a song just to kind of help us stay calm on this Thanksgiving Eve. I don't recommend going to the emergency room for inspiration, but you take it where you can get it. And as I lay in there not quite 2 years ago, this doctor came waltzing in. I had a bad foot injury, and she got her stethoscope on my chest. She never said a word about my foot or anything else. She just looked at me, never said a word, but took the stethoscope, checked my heart, looked me in the eye and said, "You have a slow, steady heart." And she waltzed out. And it was almost, she was like an apparition, you know? And so I had to do something with that. And a few months later, this song came out, which I'll leave you with tonight. I also wanted to leave you with a great thing I saw posted just the other day. to help us. We keep having to get perspective on where we are. And this said in 1607, Shakespeare's theater was closed during the plague. So during that time, he wrote King Lear, Macbeth, and Antony and Cleopatra. And it ended with these words: be patient, wash your hands. I would add, wear your mask. And then finally, keep getting better at what you do. Slow, steady, slow, steady, slow, steady, slow, steady heart. That's what the lady doctor said to me when I showed up for an emergency. It was a pretty nasty injury. With pain and swelling I could feel and see. But what I heard, you see, was you have a slow, steady heart. What does it mean to have a steady heart when our whole world seems to be falling apart? What does it mean that it is beating slow, in spite of pain and everything I know? Well, it's a mighty mystery. I have a slow, steady heart. Slow, steady, slow, steady, slow, steady, slow, steady heart. Sometimes the thing we really need to hear slips unexpectedly into our ear, where time and place have not prepared us for the very news to make our spirits soar. Well, here's breaking news for free. I have a slow, steady heart. You can sing with me. Slow, steady, slow, steady, slow, steady, slow, steady heart. My swollen foot will take some time to heal, but that dear woman helped me keep it real. She said almost tenderly, you have a slow, steady heart. Slow, steady. Sing that with me too. Slow and steady. Once more now. Slow and steady. Slow and steady. heart. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for listening, and many blessings be yours. Good night.